everybody. Welcome on back. It's the Rubbing is Racing podcast, and it's brought to you by NASCAR. We're 5 playoff races deep, and we've had 5 different playoff drivers win each race. So it's been a great playoff so far for NASCAR. William Byron and now Ryan Blaney have punched their tickets to the Final 8. As we head to the Roval Sunday, you can catch all the action starting with the pre-race at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. Spider and I will be boots on the ground. I've never been to the city of Charlotte, much less to the Roval, so I'm really looking forward to it. Spider and I and Devlin's going to be tagging along too on the social end, so expect a lot of shit from us there, and we'll have some comments on what we're doing down there this weekend in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody. We'll get right into headlines because we're taping on essentially Wednesday morning. So NASCAR hasn't dropped its full 2024 schedule yet, but everyone is waiting with bated breath for that. They've been leaking some stuff as time has gone by, including that they're going to bring its first ever NASCAR Cup Series race to Iowa Speedway. Iowa Speedway is a 7/8 mile tri-oval. They said it's about 40 miles outside of Des Moines. It's considered one of the most challenging short tracks in the country. So on Sunday, June 16th, and this is all tentative because NASCAR can move some dates around, we're going to be racing at Iowa Speedway. So it's going to be pretty cool. They'll have the Xfinity Series there also and the ARCA Series there as well. You guys been to Iowa? Anybody?
Never been to Iowa.
Have I ever?
I tell you,
I bet. I mean, it seems like a place that they would appreciate the racing.
Supposedly, the race fans out there are second to none. I used to go to the Iowa State Fair with customers every year when we used to cover PGI. And so I've been to Des Moines. I used to go to some funky pizza parlor that used to serve crab rangoon pizzas. It's a good head. The only thing I don't like about this, particularly like our conversations on the show, is I think this is taking the place of Montreal. Montreal's not going to get done. We had tentative plans to have Biz out there with us that we would have tore up Montreal.
Tough for Spidey Scoops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, but I'll take the L there. That was a reported and confirmed story, and it sounds like all through. It was not just a rumor out of left field. So
well, I was wrong.
Quiggs just lives to see me. It's crazy.
I do pray on downfalls.
When I was months ahead of Kyle Busch on the scoop there, a love. So it's gross that pieces to you just prey on your demise and all. But no, I think Montreal. Hopefully it will happen eventually. But to largest point, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen this year.
It was supposed to happen. Like that wasn't something out of left field. For it was all intents and purposes.
So that's why I don't feel bad. Despite what his little bullshit chirps are on his end, from wherever he's at, not showing face. So I don't really care. We'll be back.
We're both in Chicago.
Exactly. So come hang out with me. Back in Montreal, I just don't think it's going to be extra. To Iowa though, that's a 5-hour drive. I'm at. Hopefully, I can drive over and attend that race. I've never been to the state. I just crossed off Nebraska this past college football show, but never Iowa. Give me a reason to go out there. I'll be there.
I just think it's a cool place. Like, and to your point, Spider, there's a good chance that a good section of America never visits Iowa, never gets to cross it off the list. You know, I feel the same way about Nebraska. Unless you're going for a special event, sometimes your travels, the average American might not drag them through, the heartland like that. So going to Iowa, like this is what I was looking for with the LA Coliseum thing. Like find a stadium or Coliseum in Iowa, like just to switch it up. And I know LA is trying to concentrate on being inside a big city. I totally get that. But I'm excited for this. And I'm hoping that instead of going to Montreal, this is one of the ones that's on our schedule next year. I don't know who we take. Is Trent an Iowa guy?
Trent is an Iowa guy. Yeah, we could maybe with him, corn boy him.
And
yeah, I think Trent over anyone.
And I think it's one of those things where Trent is also the fattest baby ever born in the state of Iowa. Or he held that title for a while, so it'd be almost a triumphant return because I naturally look like a fat baby. So I think it's one of those things where it'd be a full circle trip and we'd have a good time. So far we know about the 2024 Cup schedule. that the LA Clash is back for the third consecutive year. We know that the season will open February 18th with the Daytona 500. That's the stuff that's in the book. The All-Star race will be back in North Wilkesboro, which will be repaved. It's another thing that we know. Chicago is supposed to be back, but the city of Chicago can fuck with that. They have like some 180 days before they can pull out, but as of right now, the Chicago street race is going to be back first week in July. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway race will return to the Oval on July 21st. That's great news. It's a place that I've always wanted to go. Both Bristol races next year will be on the concrete, and Phoenix will be hosting the finals again next year. That's what we know so far. But there's been all these rumors about maybe the West Coast trip, moving Sonoma to that early part of the season, and Sonoma's lovely in the spring, boys. I mean, that would be fantastic. I think they might even jam like Atlanta in after Daytona. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you guys will know by the time that this podcast hits, and we're excited for all of it. The second thing I want to talk about, you guys see the punch thrown? There's a lot of blood this weekend in the truck race.
That fight was great.
Yeah, some guy as old as me named Matt
Or
Crafton.
I guess I didn't see the actual. Did the tape come out of the sucker punch?
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think
I saw
there's
the aftermath, but I didn't.
I
see
don't
the
think
actual
any
sucker
footage
punch.
of the actual first cut of Matt Crafton throwing the punch. Nick Sanchez said it was a sucker punch. I had to see the video to confirm one way or the other.
Matt Crafton said he came up to me and he was like threatening. So they were standing face to face and he threw the first punch, which isn't necessarily a sucker punch. Like, unless you want to call the first punch always a sucker punch, but someone's got to lead the charge. So
Yeah, that's completely different than Nick Sanchez's side of the things.
Yeah, it's almost like he ran up behind
walking
him.
back,
Yeah.
got tapped on the shoulder, and as he turned, he got one in the face. So somebody's lying.
So the clips that we had seen was a bloody Nick Sanchez, who's a baby face, like he's 22-year-old kid, and Matt Crafton, I think, is 42 or 44. So he's in his mid-40s. He's, early 40s, rather. So he's essentially double this kid's age. It doesn't seem like NASCAR came down too hard on him. For throwing a punch and getting 20 grand, that's what Matt had gotten as his fine. And then Nick had gotten 5,000 because he made some pretty incendiary comment, like you would if you're going to get into a fight. I can't imagine I've ever been to a fight and I've been like, ooh, let me watch my language. They only gave him
yelling
5,000.
He was gonna kill him.
He said, which I can't.
I'm gonna fucking kill you at Homestead.
Yeah. So not a lot of gray area there, but still. So he only got 5 grand. His dad, who has got in the melee a little bit, is suspended from the tracks for the rest of the season. This is Sanchez's thing, but I think we all want this, right? We all want the occasional bloodshed. Correct? Spot?
I'm here for the fighting. This seemed to be like a long brawl. Usually they throw like 1 or 2 push and their teams separate it. I don't know if it was because it was so long after the fact, but I said before, I love the fact that NASCAR does react with punishments, and one is just a monetary fine. Probably teams don't want to pay it, but at the end of the day, they still get to race next week. They'll both be on track. I think that is the beauty of this. That I also am pretty certain this. Last year, Bubba Wallace getting suspended for a race after attacking Kyle Larson. Granted that involved use of bar, and he did take out another player in the process. But it is a little surprising to see that none of these drivers were suspended, and it was just monetary fines. That being said, as well, I think Nick Sanchez might have more than another fine. His nose looked a little bit broken. Yeah. So thoughts and prayers, I guess, but keep it up, boys. I mean, and that's the message that NASCAR is sending. Won't give you any kind of suspension, which is the ultimate bad thing. Not taking away any points. Obviously, that's another thing that's a big hindrance, but it'll just come out of your wallet. Legacy Motor Club has tabbed Mike Rockenfeller to drive the number 42 Chevrolet at the Roval this weekend. So Hocevar was in the 42 last week. We'll talk about him in a second. This season, we've had Berry, we've had Rockenfeller, there's an N in there, and Hocevar. But John Hunter Nemechek is the guy who's going to be in that seat next season. It still just blows my mind that they have an opportunity to give this guy some reps in the car that he's going to be driving, and yet they choose not to.
even if Rockefeller is a better street race, road racer, whatever the hell he is, he's not the favorite. He's not on the board as a top 10 guy. So I don't understand it. I know that's perhaps a scheduling thing. Maybe it's a contractual thing with John Hunter. But so we're going to have another face, one of the new faces who had, I believe he had done the street race, Rockefeller.
Yeah.
I think he had done
the Chicago race. I'm not sure if it was in the 42, but he did the Chicago race.
Definitely wasn't in 42 because the 42 was stuck underneath the fucking, right? With the Wendy shit all over it. But I know he's done something for them since then.
Maybe Indy too.
Maybe Indy, yeah. So either way, best of luck to him, but it I don't know, it baffles me a little bit. One other thing I'm going to talk about, Kyle Busch. We learned last week that Kyle Busch Motorsports was sold to Spire, and Kyle Busch and his partners had gotten the bag. But also the winningest driver in Truck Series history, what's he going to do next season? I think he can do a maximum of 5 truck races, and he's going to run 5 truck races with Spire Motorsports in 2024. That shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody, but I think it's still good to have Kyle Busch in the sport, and I think it's one of the attractive thing with Spire getting that whole deal to have one of the greatest drivers in the history of the game wheeling their car next season. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Some people don't like that.
Why is that?
People get very mad about Kyle driving in the Truck Series. They just think it's like not fair.
Yeah, we had, who was the guy? Who was the hit?
Zane Smith.
Yeah, Zane Smith. And by the way, you see him hit one of his the pit crew guys this weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Guy bounced off.
Well,
yeah.
I thought he was going to destroy him. Pit guy was fine, but
yeah.
I would have hammed it up a little bit. But Zane Smith was like, bring it on, right? It's if you don't want to race against the best, then don't bother getting behind the wheel. And I don't think people can really argue with that. Before I go on to the recap, I just want you guys to know, listen, last time I'm going to mention this, but we had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that whole Danica Patrick thing. Not going to get into it. But one of the things that we pointed out is that Martin Truex had made a statement, and Quiggs had said it, I think, best, where he said, if I would have read that statement, it's a great statement, I wouldn't have known that it was from her partner of so many years unless Martin signed it, which he did. And we sort of tried to make the case that that's just not his thing. He's just not a wordy guy, maybe. I don't even know if that's the correct word. I'm sitting in the office the other day, and my wife says, you got a package, pretty big package. I said, thanks. You should know that. We've been married 25 years. Hopefully it's the biggest package she ever saw. So she sends me a picture. Spider and Quiggs, this thing was fucking huge. It looked like they sent somebody. I didn't know who it was. It was bigger than any box that you would put like a widescreen TV in. So I said, Annie, open it up. So she opens it up, and this is what it was. So I got a fucking corner. So this is what I got, right? And so this is for people who don't know. And what got me is that this is a right rear corner panel of a Cup Series car that obviously hit a wall, right? I can't even get the right thing. We see where it's rubbed there. Yeah. And the reason that it kind of baffled me, it's the right rear corner panel, and yet it still has a cutout for a gas tank, which means that this is one that was probably run on a road course, right? Because sometimes you have, the pits on the other side, so the gas tank guy doesn't run around. And this is obviously Martin Truex's car. This is like not his main scheme that he runs, but it's one of the other ones that he runs, and it's awesome, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a fucking note. This is not signed. This has nothing. There was nothing. It's all barcoded on the inside, right? So it's all barcoded. Yeah. So in case somebody needs to inspect it, JGR Cup, quarter panel right Camry, NASCAR Next Gen composite body. I mean, it's legit. Like, this isn't like something. I had to reach out to the guy who we talked to, and I've been like, can you give me a little background? And so it winds up, this is what he rode at the Indy Road Course. This is from the car that he wheeled at the Indy Road Course. And again, remember when he said at the beginning of the season he was going to, it's fucking filthy. He was going to send me something.
Yeah.
He had stood us up once. He was supposed to come in for an interview. He stood us up once. No harm, no foul. It was just one of those things that was a scheduling thing. I said some very nice things about him when the whole Danica thing went down. we also had this season-long bet where if I didn't bet on him, he was going to send me something, and I'm very tough to fit. No mention of any of that shit. Biggest fucking package I've ever gotten in my life, and not even a. So that I think proves our point. Don't you think so, fellas? Like that's sort of that's a very Martin Truex-y gift.
I thought what you were going to pull out was a framed like screenshot of Danica's tweet. I thought that's what was coming.
Yeah,
Hang that up in your house.
I love how we say he's not a man of many words and he's like soft spoken and then he's that with no context, next, no note. That's perfect brand.
And like perhaps he has people who just take care of this. I don't know if the guy who had sent it to me wants to be out there. I mean, maybe perhaps he does. But either way, I very much. So who is it? Oh, Bill Janetz. Yeah, Bill Janetz, who handles a bunch of drivers. I spoke to him, but it was the one that he drove at Indy. So I thank you so much. I don't even know if he knows that it was sent. I'm not sure where I'm going to hang it.
You should put it on. Can you put it on your outdoor bar?
I was thinking about that. Like put it right on the front.
Yeah.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah. Like a hood is so much easier to do. Like it's awkward as shit. I love it.
Yeah.
I fucking love it. And I can't put it above the mantle. I can't hang it above the bed, and he's already kind of out on that. But otherwise, I got to find a perfect place, and I think the outdoor bar might be it. So I don't know. I think it proves a point, and so it gives me an opportunity to say thank you to them. And to tell you that's kind of what Martin's all about. All right, let's talk about. Right, you guys are a little bit jealous. That's kind of a cool fucking thing.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you send the rear quarter panel for Spider?
Yeah, exactly. Let's get the other side. We're gonna go into a recap to talk about Talladega, and this recap is brought to you guys by Cabo Wabo Tequila. It's the official tequila partner of NASCAR. It's not just tequila either. It's damn good, thick cut. 100% Blue Weber agave tequila. Blue Weber agave tequila. That's the difference. It creates a drinkability and smoothness that I've found nowhere else. So Cabo Wabo Tequila and NASCAR are teaming up to bring that big, thick cut flavor to race days at home and at the tracks. The Cabo Wabo Smoke Show and Cabo Wabo Tequila's signature cocktail. Spider and I had enjoyed a couple when we were in Michigan for the Cabo Wabo race. And it's the perfect thing to enjoy if you're at the track or if you're just watching the race at home. So Cabo Wabo Tequila is bringing bold flavor to the racetrack and also your couch if you want to. So go to CaboWabo.com and learn some more about it. You got to be 21 years or older to enjoy it. We have the Blanco, the Resposado, and the Aneo just off of camera. So any of them will treat you well. So great week this week, I think, for NASCAR. You guys agree? That was a great race?
Oh, yeah.
So we had 70 lead changes between 24 drivers. That seems like a lot, and it's the most since 2011. So it was a great race. And Stage 1 winner was Ryan Blaney. Stage 2 winner was Brad Kay. I don't know who had Brad Kay on their sheet, but he wrecked and did not finish. He got into a wreck where it seemed like it was his fault, and then they're kind of placing the... Did you guys see that wreck between Brad Kay and Hocevar? I thought that it was Brad's fault. Carson kind of slowed up into him a little bit, but he bumped him on the turn.
If I remember it right, it was Brad's fault, but he almost could have not been involved, and he kind of got the backlash of what he caused.
Yeah. He kind of knocked Carson out of the way. If you're going to give somebody a bump in a tri-oval, you have to really pick a spot to do it. So he picked a bad one, and then as Carson had started to dive, he had hit into to Ty Gibbs and Austin Dillon, who then had come up the race car towards the wall, and it was Austin Dillon who then hit Brad. Like you're saying, Brad almost took off unscathed until Austin Dillon hit him. Ty hit the wall. I mean, I think he was able to brake a little bit, but otherwise he hit the wall almost head on, and it ended the day early for a bunch of racers. And Austin Dillon was not shy, shitting on Carson Hocevar afterwards. I don't know if you guys heard that, but he kind of bitched him. He's like, I saw the way he was racing, couldn't hold the line. And Carson Hocevar was like, I don't think that's true. That's the way they race. So that's potential smoke. I don't think you should put a microphone in anyone's face when they just got into a car accident, because you tend to sort of act like Nick Sanchez. I will fucking kill you, Carson Hocevar. But
and it really is, like, super speedways are just Groundhog's Day. It's just the same thing happens over and over. It's people like holding on for dear life the whole race. Eventually they wreck, and then they just find someone to blame, say they're too inexperienced to be driving out there, and then at the end of the day, it's not really anybody's fault. It's just they're all just going 200 miles per hour trying to get it done.
Yeah, and it like even towards the end, who was the guy who was backing up Harvick for that end part? It was Riley Herbst.
Like pushing him?
Yeah, Riley Herbst was pushing him. Then they created some space between them, so Brad wasn't getting the help that he needed from Riley. Once Blaney had taken the inside lane, he had William Byron perfectly set up to give him that little push. Riley wasn't really in position, and then Corey LaJoie fucking took Riley Herbst out. So it, cost Harvick the win, which is obviously a heartbreak, and it wasn't the worst thing that happened to Harvick on Sunday, but we'll get into that in a sec. But the winner wound up being the Stage 1 winner, and who took the checkered flag wound up being Ryan Blaney. So congratulations to Ryan Blaney. That's it. So one of the guys who writes into us every now and again is a gentleman named Matt Boltic. So he had sent me this as soon as Blaney had won. It's his 9th career win and his 4th at a super speedway. So Ryan Blaney is very good at super speedways. And he said, I think we have to start considering Ryan Blaney as one of the best, if not the best, plate track racer in NASCAR. Like Quigg said on last week's pod, Blaney is always there at the end, barring someone doesn't wreck him. So I'll put that to you guys. Is Ryan Blaney? Every time we see a super speedway, we tend to go right after a couple of names. Should Ryan Blaney be at the top of our list going forward?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Spider.
I think so as well. Daytona, Talladega, it looks like Blaney's always there at the end. He always has a shot to win. As someone that's been religiously betting him at super speedways, it's off recently. Weekend, I feel like, as I said, he's always there at the end, but he struggled to pull it out. But those that you named, large, you can't dispute. He's, in my opinion, the best active slate driver. I look at other guys that are maybe the best active talents in the sport, or whether Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, guys that win a different track. Even Kyle Larson struggles at super speedways. So if we're talking exclusively superways, I would say it's Ryan Blaney. I think Bubba Wallace is another that surprisingly is up there, and then Eric Almirola is another one, but he's seemingly headed for retirement.
Always mentioned. He's always mentioned, right? Amarola's always mentioned, obviously. It's certain guys, and I don't know if Stenhouse. I don't know if Blaney always jumps to the front of everyone's tongue, and I think it's one of those. And by the way, listen, if you were betting on Blaney all last season, you're fucked. I mean, he was Mr. Consistent. Yeah. I don't know if everyone remember, they kept calling him Mr. Consistent going into the playoffs. He was the guy who was in there without a win, but, didn't have any wins in 2022. And now he seems like he certainly seems like he owns Talladega. So I don't know. So I think I echo your sentiment, Spider. I haven't had him on my card a ton. I took him off my card last week because I thought it was a crowded trade. So you and I took him off, and we gave the fucking trade to asshole Quiggs.
Yeah,
right? Cash is another one.
I think that was the strategy last week. Take everyone below the cut line. Somebody's going to be up there.
Yeah. So
are you want to go ahead and tell me on my picks, Quiggs for bumping Blaney?
What?
Forget it. Let's move on.
Sorry,
but
I couldn't understand that.
Yeah, no, because you have a little bit of the thing. So the rest of the race, pretty. I don't know. We'll talk about it in the over under. Denny had he got a pass through for speeding on pit row. I felt terrible for Harvick. Right, Harvick he's been in contention a couple of times this season. I shouldn't say finally, but it just seemed like the one. I was very, very excited to see Harvick do it. And then on top of coming in P2, he then gets disqualified for windshield fasteners. I don't really understand it. I do and I don't. Somebody had said, like, sometimes if the windshield's not fastened, it can actually bend in, which causes some more downforce and aero. Larry McReynolds had commented that it's not that at all. It's strictly a safety issue. We can't have windshields flying off of cars. So, the crew for Kevin Harvick said that they did whatever they could, putting silicone in there and whatnot to get these screws that put in this, plexiglass windshield. But, over 500 miles, these things tend to to jolt and come out. But either way, Kevin Harvick's name was stripped from the history books, and he was demoted to last place finish when he actually had a P2. And then that rising tide brought everybody up one spot. So I think maybe like Daniel Suarez snuck into the top 10. So I don't know. I feel bad. This isn't going the way that Kevin Harvick wanted his swan song to go. So hopefully he can get a little bit of luck going into the end of the season. Spider, I have a bunch of over-unders. So I'm going to hit you. What did you see this week that jumped out at you as being good or bad?
Yeah, I have a bunch as well. Start with Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst looked incredible all race. Especially that monster car. It was white. Usually, and historically, NASCAR fans are on NASCAR for their confusing or their black paint schemes that just remain pretty consistent. And this week we saw something new and fresh with the white scheme, so I like that. And I haven't even mentioned Riley Herbst's performance. Like I said, he was pretty much in the whole race. Even at the finish, I mean, I would have liked to see him lock bumpers with Harvick and push him a little bit more aggressively, but be asking a lot from a guy that doesn't race in this series. So be encouraged from what we saw from Riley Herbst. I wish he finished better given where he was running at the end, spun there, and unfortunately he finished like top 10. What do you 9? So. And then also Kevin Harvick, despite the disqualification, I was impressed with him. I was interested to see if he's that race, NASCAR disqualify him, or do they just turn their head and let him have one final win? What's your guys' take on that?
I don't know. Like I thought about that myself. That would be a huge headline. Kevin Harvick gets disqualified from his only win in his swan song season at Talladega. I think you got to keep that to yourself. I think NASCAR, and the rule is pretty cut and dry. So if they did that, they'd be breaking their own rules. But it doesn't seem like NASCAR is against breaking its own rules, right? Like we're going back to stage breaks next week. Doesn't matter. Like, so we've done stuff this season where there's been some arbitrariness to it. So, man, I hope they would have gave him the fucking win.
I think the only way, which I don't think they can sweep that under the rug, but I think it would have had to been Harvick and then a non-playoff driver second.
Oh,
the fact
yes.
that if Blaney was second and they stole the auto bid to the next round, that's like controversy that would maybe have some backlash. But also, I don't know. That'd be some good conspiracy theory stuff if he did finish first.
Honestly, I think they had worse the penalty. I mean, I'm pretty mistaken. Harvick either someone or had a rear windshield modification before, and he was snitched on because the rear wind a couple seasons ago, or maybe last season was wore back, and they had more downforce on the car than an advantage. I don't remember if that was his car or if Kevin Harvick pointed that out on another car. But then again, I believe it was this weekend who had fender damage. And then as he continued, it was either him or Ricky Stenhouse, someone involved that wreck, and on like maybe 100 laps later to have the impact of the air damage the front bumper even more, which resulted in tire rub and vibration. I think it was for Kyle Busch. If the windshield's not fully fastened and there's that much air pressure on the front of it, that's a little concerning, especially what you saw happen to fixed body like a bumper piece after miles and laps of air pressure. So again, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an aerophysicist or anything, but
I am.
Analysis. Quigs, what do you got?
No, I mean, I don't know. All the like NASCAR like cheating and modifications all kind of blow my mind. Yeah, I know it's like a part of the sport, and it used to be a way bigger part of the sport, but yeah, it's anything to get an edge. But at the same time, like, how often do you get away with it? Like, how much does NASCAR actually care? Because I mean, I've heard like everybody cheats. It's just whether or not they get caught. But like, I really don't believe that. I don't know how often these guys are sitting in the garage being like, how do we modify this car illegally and not get caught? I just think a lot of them try to do it above board.
For sure.
I
All
would
right, so I'll got
go ahead, Spider. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to rest of my over-unders,
Yeah,
but
please.
did you have another final thought on the Harvick thing?
No. I thought to myself that, you know, there were so many non-playoff drivers who were in contention before the last lap that probably would have been the sticking point. Like if it was Harvick and the only person that he was, you know, like if Riley Herbst was behind him, I think the guy who had seen the loose nuts or the loose screws rather would have been like, shut the fuck up. Right? Because it'd be better for NASCAR to see, you know, the four go out that way.
So that's pretty much for playoff drivers involved. The only other one I would give to is Denny Hamlin finishing P3 after being a lap down and penalty. I was really encouraged by that. But the other I'm going to give out this week, the overs rather, are guys within the top 15 that don't typically run there. Those guys include Corey LaJoie, who finished 4th, Cindric 5th, Justin Haley 6th, Ryan Preece 8th, Riley Herbst, who had finished 9th. And then Chandler Smith 11th and Todd Gilliland. I'm well impressed with those guys. Chandler actually running this series full time. I'm encouraged with what we saw from him finishing wise. And then Todd Gilliland, I think's had a pretty good year compared to where he was at last year. Where credit's due. And guys all impressed me, especially for guys outside the playoffs still fighting to make something of their season. I thought they all did fairly well. Who'd I miss?
Did anyone disappoint you?
I would say just the guys involved in the wrecks early. Harvick with the DQ disappointing because I would have loved to see him have a second place finish or even win there at the end if he could have got the push from Riley Herbst. But Chastain, maybe Keselowski, those are all guys. Logano, and then the 23-11 guys. I would have liked to see finish better where they were at in their season or competing for first win in the case of Alex Bowman or keep their playoff hopes alive in Brad Keselowski and RFK and the 2-3-11 drivers. So
I'm going to throw it over to Ryan Blaney's sister. Right? Because William Byron is the guy that got Ryan Blaney over that. You know, I think Byron did an extra good job knowing that Ryan Blaney's sister would be at home, like saying, thanks so much for taking care of my brother, maybe treating him a little bit extra. You know what I mean? Like once you guys get married and start to settle into it, there's a couple of things that I get on my birthday and Father's Day I don't get the rest of the year. So I don't know. Maybe that was in the back of his mind. So shout out.
That was a bro move. Pushing your in-law, helping him out.
He had said it like he keeps that relatively close to the vest as he should. You know, it's brought up every now and again in NASCAR, but he had mentioned it in the post-race interview. He's like, and everyone knows that, you know, William Byron dates my sister. So it just dates. I don't even know if they're engaged or anything. But he's like, so just a brother-in-law or future brother-in-law helping a guy out. I thought that was kind of cool for him to mention. So so I always got to be a little disrespectful and shout out to Ryan Blaney's sister. I know you put Denny as one of the outperformers. And again, he got bumped up to however he'd finished to P3, right? Once they got Harvick. But also I got to put him on the under. He mispronounced Mavis, like in the post-race interview. I mean, it's like Mavis Tire and Brake, and he called it Mavis or something like that, and then corrected himself.
Yeah, I heard that. I over on the guy off screen who quickly corrected. You could see Denny lock eyes with someone, and I think his PR guy was like Mavis.
Yeah,
and then he quickly corrected himself. So over on behind the scenes, who's keeping everyone in check.
But you got to be a little better at that. And he did try. He went back. I meant Mavis, the only place to go for all your tire and brake needs. Gave him like a little bit of a tagline.
Extra.
So he did the right thing. But, he would have busted somebody else's balls, particularly somebody in the race team that he owns. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if somebody was to mispronounce, Tyler or Bubba, he would have been all up in his ass. But people got on him on social media, and he's like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I think he once referred to FedEx as UPS. And like FedEx is his thing. So he doesn't seem to care. So I hope he doesn't care. I put him on the fucking under. Toyota had only one car in the top 10. Toyotas were not very good at Talladega. Spider gave a shout out to all those playoff drivers who were in the top 10. Outside of the top 3, there were no other playoff drivers. Where the fuck were you? So you got to give an under to all those guys. You know, I mean, I know Truex didn't have to be there. There are certain people who didn't have to be there. But the playoff drivers on a whole, 3 out of the top 10, didn't perform very well at Talladega.
Yeah, but it's the over-unders are so weird for super speedways where it's like they 4 laps to go, they form that third line up at the top.
Yep.
If that actually works, instead of having 1 Toyota in the top 10, you have 6 Toyotas in the top 10. Like, so much is so many positions change in those last 5 laps that it's like, did they underperform? Like, it is about getting it done at the end of the day, but it's just like, oh, if this line got the momentum, the whole order of who finished where completely shifts.
Right.
People were terrified going into this. Most of the playoff drivers were like, who knows what's going to happen? And, you know, I'll put him in as under still. Fuck it. Under to the gas tank for Ty Gibbs. I mean, that was wild. That thing stuck in there, which I guess happens every now and again, but it happened at the end of a stage. There was 30 cars in pit row when that small inferno had started, and there was no issue. Some guy came out, excuse me, fellas, and gave it a little bit of a squirt. Everything was okay, but that was pretty wild to watch. To see the 54 car pull out and then drop a fucking Comet in the middle of pit. And Talladega has a pit row that's essentially 4 lanes. But if this happened on any other smaller tracks, that's a catastrophe. 30 cars on a small track pit row, that'd be a catastrophe.
I thought we were going to have a Juan Pablo Montoya Daytona 500 situation. One year at the Daytona 500, Juan Pablo Montoya on a caution lap got into the jet dryer, and the back of the fucking truck exploded and started spilling fuel on the track. It fire melted the super speedway, and they basically had the red flags repair the track. There's a little twisted history for you, Lars. But
I fucking love it.
But caught on fire, and they had to red flag the race, try to fix it, and the driver complained. It was like turn 3 about how the track was basically like still liquid and really squishy and soft to drive on. I thought for a second, given names and the fuel burning on the track, that we might have a situation similar to what we saw with Juan Pablo Montoya. And as you said, in pit lane, probably not a good place for it to go down, especially given the chaos we saw with Truck Series and everything else, and that the chaos that happened in Talladega. So
it's like a Molotov cocktail. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what, and I know it's, they said it's an aluminum can, but there's metal, like iron or steel fasteners that kind of put it into the gas tank. And that's what, that spurred the spark that started the whole thing. But for a second there, I was like, you know, I was watching it with Annie. She's like, what if that blows up and becomes a rocket and kills Paul Swan, you know, or something like that? She thinks about Paul Swan way too much. So, I mean, you know, thank God that we got away with it. And then the last one I'm going to mention is Ricky. You know, everyone was calling him Recky Spinhouse. You know, he tried to get to the top, but he ran out of gas. You know, it happens to the best of them. But, you know, he wound up ending Ross Chastain's day. Ross Chastain had then tried to shoot around Kyle Busch, who was, you know, right behind Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And, you know, Ross Chastain and Kyle Busch needed some stage points, as they still do, need something to get going, and they didn't get it because Ricky had run out of gas right in front of him. That's all I got. But one of the things that Quiggs had sent to me was that after the win, after the Ryan Blaney win, it was uncharacteristic of him, even though he's had multiple wins at super speedways, he never does burnouts. So he did his first burnout as a Cup Series driver. He hasn't done a burnout since he was in a truck, I believe. And the reason that he didn't is he said, Dale, this is a quote from Ryan, Dale Inman told me that the winner of the Kentucky Derby doesn't get off his horse and start beating the shit out of it. That's a great fucking, I think that's a great quote. Especially,
I don't know. I'm on the other side.
You are? Okay. Go.
Like, fucking burn it down. I don't know. Like, it's one's a live animal. Of course, you don't want to beat the shit out of it. One's a car. These are designed resources and tools to get you to the win. When the job is done, treat however you want. 90%, I wouldn't say 90% of the time. A lot of times these cars are museums or like team shops. gift shops. We like McDowell winning the 5. Granted, his car was beat to shit. That car ended up in a museum. So I don't know. To me, I love it, Large. If you win the race, burn them, celebrate, and don't be bashful.
Yeah.
I don't really see the comparison. To be honest,
It's definitely cool. I mean, I'm sure as like I don't. What do you think the cost, if there's a cost on doing a burnout? Like what? Do you have to do a full like engine rebuild? Like,
yeah, I don't know.
What is the cost of a burnout?
That would be good for the Ask Quig segment, or we got to ask our next guest on the show what the financial
we should. If we ever
that
get
are.
like a crew chief or something, we should ask.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what goes
but
into
it seems like it would just be. It's like they don't blow the engine. The car still drives to, they drive it on top of the podium or whatever it may be.
They go in there on absolute. I was about to say fumes, but they burn those tires down to the seats and stems, and that can't be good for all the rest of the stuff. So I get it, but somebody had commented, nobody tell Blaney what they do when a horse breaks his leg. That's true too. He goes out and shoots him in the head. So it's a little hypocritical that he's like, it's something I don't want to do because I don't know, it doesn't make sense to him, and then he did one. So of course it's not a big deal. I kind of like him. I love the Polish victory lap better. I do. I kind of like it. The only time that I've ever been like, wow, that was a cool burnout is when we were live in Chicago, Spider, and Shane Van Ginsenberg did one in that very tight part of the track, and he didn't touch a wall. He didn't do anything. This guy was going figure eights. I mean, it was pretty impressive as opposed to just doing it. Or sometimes in the grass. I like when they do it in the grass too. It's cool too. But
to me, if we're gonna get on Will for wearing big hats for celebrating, we on Blaney for not celebrating and not being down. In my opinion.
No.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
He's just hand the ball back to the ref.
Like take your ball and go home. I did my job. You got to have a winning tradition, and for your tradition to be not burned down, I don't know. I need more.
Standings. So we have William Byron and Ryan Blaney push through to the next round. Denny Hamlin is like plus 50 points. Denny's got way too many points. He's sitting pretty up there. I'll go down to because the cut line is after 8, and sitting at 8 right now is Brad Kay at plus 2 points. Then below the cut line, you have Reddick at minus 2 points, Bubba at minus 9, Ross Chastain at minus 10, and then Kyle Busch at minus 26 puts himself into a situation where he has to win this weekend. Like Ross Chastain can have certain things go well for him and get some stage points and have some things go poorly for some of the other drivers, and he can be okay. Obviously, Tyler is very close, and he's going into a road course, which is kind of his specialty. But Kyle Busch is in trouble at minus 26, so he needs a little bit of something. With that, just to wrap up what we had seen, and as we're going to start to talk about Roval, we're going to talk about paint schemes. And the paint schemes that we're going to talk to you about is brought to you by Coca-Cola, and you'll see why in a second. So Coke Zero, we're going down there with Coke this weekend. We're going to be doing a bunch of content with Coke and Coca-Cola's Coke Zero Sugar. And the reason that we don't mind doing it is because it's probably one of the most delicious things that you can drink while you're casually watching a race with your children and whatnot. I love it. Quiggs had already treated himself to one for the year, which is a big deal. You should go out and treat yourself to one right now because I'm about to. Is this the best Coke ever? I don't know. There's only one way to find out, and that's to try it. The reason I mentioned Coke as the presenting sponsor of this segment is because one of the better paint schemes that I've seen is coming out of Daniel Suarez. He's got the Minute Maid Agua Frescas, which looks fucking delicious. And the paint scheme has got like all these kind of wacky fruits all over it. It's very vibrant colors. So I'm looking forward to seeing that race by in the 99 in the Roval. But the story of Talladega for paint schemes, and you guys can mention all the other ones, was obviously how well Chase Briscoe and Ryan Preece pulled off the Talladega Nights thing. Chase came on, gave us the full recap of how it started. It seemed like it was his idea, and he really leaned into it. Driver intros, he came out, he did the Magic Man thing. Like for the driver intros, he cut that Cal Naughton, that disgusting mustache. I mean, Chase Briscoe should not wear that thing at all. And then Ryan Preece, his newborn. I don't even know if his wife had it yet. Well, had her yet while he was flipping in the air. She was either a newborn or was, she was in the hospital for it. Had on a onesie, if you're not first, you're last. These guys really leaned into it, and I think it made for a very fun aspect of Talladega. Fans loved it. Priest got himself a top 10, which is good for him. So I think that had to be the best paint scheme hands down. Did you guys see anything else that jumped out at you? I didn't, to be honest with you.
No.
Yeah, those ones won, in my opinion. That was easy, and that was easily 1 and 10, 1B, if you will. I like that Tyler Reddick ran the McDonald's scheme league. That was a nice change up.
Kind of threw me off a little bit.
It did. I liked seeing him with McDonald's. He's got some top brands sponsoring him, whether or McDonald's. So I liked Reddick shoot the fries on the side, and then also, as I said earlier, the monster, the beef car. Excuse me. I know it's not their alcoholic drink. I like that it when Riley Herbst wheeled that thing. So those are the only other two that I saw that stood out to me.
Anything did you guys see for the Roval that stands out?
I love the Christopher Bell car, the DeWalt, which he runs the DeWalt, I think, a lot, but I've never seen this iteration of it with it's just all pipes running down it and water splashing. It's a cool twist on it.
I haven't seen any of the ones for this week. Yeah. Stay tuned for next week. I'll give you the best paint schemes that were on the track at Roval.
Keep an eye out for the number 10. He's Amarola's wheeling the IHOP, just like a simple blue and white IHOP thing. I think it's nice. I'm not sick of the Smithfield thing at all, powered by bacon across the back of it. But the IHOP with the almost like a purple netting on it, it's kind of sharp. So we're going into the Roval, as Spider had said. So here's the preview of Roval brought to you by NASCAR. You got to tune into the race this weekend. It's Sunday. It's 2 o'clock. It's on NBC. Pre-race at 2 o'clock. I think the race starts at 2:30. 109 laps for over 250 miles. We're going back to stage breaks. So we're after the 25th lap, stage 1. After the 50th lap, stage 2, and then the last 59 laps were for the checkered flag. 2022 winner was Christopher Bell. It was a pretty cool race to watch. So make sure you guys tune in NBC Sunday at 2 o'clock is when race coverage starts. On top of going down for the race, Spider and I are going down for a couple of other things. We're going to be meeting with Kyle Busch Motorsports guys on Friday. I mentioned it Spider yesterday. We're going to be meeting with them on Friday. I'm very excited to talk to those dudes. Good group of guys. As we know, they're getting bought by Spire Motorsports. We're trying to see if we can do some sort of collabo, perhaps before the season ends. So we're going to be out at their offices. And I guess more importantly, we're doing a charity kickball event tomorrow. So the day that this drops on Thursday, Corey LaJoy hosts a charity kickball event. And he casually mentioned it to Spider and I while we had a couple of drinks in us in Michigan. Will you play kickball? And we were like, yeah, sure. I'm not a kickball enthusiast, neither is Spider, but we're locked in. I mean, we got lockers, Spider. We got jerseys. There's a silent auction, so you can bid on our game-worn jerseys. Everyone has to sign that all this kind of stuff.
I might buy those.
Yeah, you should. So if you look on my social, Spider Social, Rubbing is Racing, we'll post it and retweet it. So if you're anywhere near Kannapolis, North Carolina, which I hear is about 45 minutes from where we're staying, it's a full day event. Starts at noon.
Not too far from the track.
I think from our hotel, I think we got about a 45-minute ride. No big deal.
Wow. Yeah, are you staying in downtown?
Yeah, downtown. We'll be staying downtown. So yeah, and again, I don't know what the scene is down there, but that's what we're going to be doing. Spider, how do you feel about your chances on competing well at the charity kickball event tonight? We'll call it, since this drops on Thursday.
I got a big leg, so I'm ready for it. Also, Large mentioned the silent auction. I just want to hit that again. We have some good items that auctioned off. We have the 2 game warrants that Large and I are going to sign. if you buy those, tweet at me, send me a receipt of the piss. Maybe I'll send you some extra merch or some stuff that we have coming doing the show, as well as we have an extra. I got Dave and Big Cat sign a bar stool for me, which is not up on the site yet, which I'm gonna have shortly. But Dave 100% that I asked him to sign it for my own personal interest and was a flip the fuck. So I would really appreciate if you guys go on the site and run it up. This is for a good cause. Make sure you bid on it. I would love the visibility so we can show to Dave, hey, this isn't hanging basement. Actually, John in fucking Alaska won this auction. Something like that. So yeah, run up all items. The Corey LaJoie kickball is a great event for a good note. Definitely don't miss your chance to follow along and get some merch.
There's probably 10 or 12 active drivers also competing. There's another 5 to 10 ex-NFL players like Luke Kuechly? How do you pronounce it?
Luke Kuechly.
Yeah, there's some real guys who are doing this. There's a couple of comedians, I believe a couple of musicians. So it should be a good time. We're looking forward to it. I popped a rib on the chiropractor's table a day ago. I'm telling you right now.
Don't go to the chiropractor.
Yeah, I've never been to one in my life. So I popped this rib on the thing. I'm having a tough time like breathing in. I told Corey LaJoie yesterday, I was like, you're not getting me out of the dugout. He's like, whatever you need, man, just come. I'm going to be. So if people are looking for me in Kannapolis, wave me down. I will come out into the audience and I will yug beers with you guys because I'm not doing anything on this kickball field unless they force me to.
Not to derail the kickball talk,
please.
But I'm just so anti chiropractors. Do you know the twisted history of where chiropractic came from?
Yes, I'd seen a clip on that with Joe Rogan. And
it was a ghost. It told the doctor in his dream how he should be doing it, and then it's that people are still letting people just destroy their backs, and there's very little science to it.
People like Large love getting their back blown out.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Shout out. That's another over. Speaking of Blaney's sister. So I think it's one of those things where I'm just giving it a whirl. I've never done it before, so it's I don't know. So I have one leg shorter than the other. I broke a leg in high school, and I've grown a couple inches since then, so slightly. So my hips had turned off. So Nick Mangold told me to go and get adjusted. So that's why I'm there, and I popped a fucking rib. So
and you're never gonna do it again, right?
They want me to do it 3 times a week for a month.
You did it once and you popped a rib. How are you gonna?
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
supposed to go back tonight. I just called the guys like I can't do it. Yeah,
don't do chiropractic.
Really? You're out on it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
My dad did it and like messed up his back for life.
Really?
Like they slipped the disc in his back, and yeah.
This is what I like about rubbing his racing, right? This is rubbing his racing, rubbing his chiropractic, whatever it is. But either way, so it's going to be big time. KBM guys, and obviously we're going to be with the Coca-Cola guys on Saturday and Sunday for the race. So it's going to be a big time. Picking the tires. I'm going to go first this week. Go, please.
One more thing. Listening and you live in the Charlotte area, please chime in with recommendations. You know, Large has a very fancy palate, and we'd love to get the local beans, the delicacies.
I'm from Charlotte.
Yeah, man, chime in, quick.
But I don't have great recommendations.
Maybe we hit Red Rocks, our buddy Red Rocks, Ron, who's good friends with Denny. I don't know what to do. We have a little bit of time, so if you have any recommendations, chime. Yeah.
Is Red Rocks down there? Is that where it is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should definitely do that. I'll reach out to Ron.
We'll pop in.
Yeah. You guys ready to throw out some picks?
Let's move on to picks and Quigs. If you have any pick recommendations, whether it be food or activities to do in Charlotte, feel free to add that in. I'm going to start with the picks. I have two picks for this weekend.
Did he just run me over?
Yeah, he's going first now, Large.
I'm sorry. Didn't want it to go. I missed that.
No, it's you now.
All right, so I'm going to give you 2 picks, and one of them is going to be Tyler Reddick, who's a road course ringer. He's also got his back to the wall with the playoffs beneath the cut line. I don't know what his current odds are right now. I believe he's plus 700 or around them there.
That's his current odds.
I like that. And I'm going to give you one other outright. That's Chase Elliott, who's plus 600. I hate to be chalky and take the two top guys, but Chase Elliott, another guy back against the wall, and wants to keep his winning every season alive. So I expect Chase Elliott to be very, very competitive, and I think he's the favorite for a good reason. And Tyler Reddick, as we've said, road course ring. Those are my two picks. Very simple this week. Large, what do you got? Any overlap?
Just a little bit. Like I took Tyler too. When it opened up, he opened up at plus 850. So I jumped on that. And listen, these lines are going to move after qualifying, right? Road courses, I think qualifying moves lines more. So these things should be bouncing around. I'd locked in Tyler Reddick at plus 850. I was also looking sort of at the favorites too with Chase, but I think I'm going to go with William Byron. I'm also going to take William Byron at plus 700.
I like that.
I think it's okay odds too to take Byron at plus 700. Not the deepest thing. I'm taking Kevin Harvick for a top 5 finish. I'm getting plus 450 for it on the Barstool Sportsbook, or the artist formerly known as the Barstool Sportsbook. So I'm going to go Reddick to win. I'm going to go Byron to win. I'm going to take Toyota at plus 230 just because they're all over the Chevys on this one. And then the last thing that I'm going to take is actually, I have a couple more. Fuck it. My card's going to be packed. I got Chris Buescher for a top 5 finish at plus 275. It's a good little road course racer. And I'm doing this just with my heart, so I'm not going to put like a full unit on it. But Kyle Busch needs to win. And I think that would be a great story for NASCAR if all of a sudden he gets to the round of 8 by pulling off a win at the Bank of America Roval 400 on October 8th, starting at 2 p.m. on NBC. So I'm taking Kyle Busch, too. Kyle Busch to win, Tyler Reddick to win, William Byron to win, top 5 Harvick, top 5 Chris Buescher. I got 5 bets this week. Take that, bitches.
I've got 2, which are kind of, they're overlapping your guys, but I battled between whether for my chalky pick, I wanted to go Chase or Tyler. Tyler is in the playoffs, not locked in fully, but I think Chase is so good at the Roval that I think I'm taking him, even though, and he's been competitive in a lot of the races lately, like kind of up there battling. So I'm going to take Chase plus 600, and then back against the wall, needs a win, Kyle Busch plus 1800.
Okay.
I don't think there's nothing that really tells me that Kyle Busch is going to do well in this race, but like he needs to.
Yeah.
Like he's win or go home almost.
And he's still, I think it's a good bet. I think I'm going to start this trend for myself. When we get to this third race in the playoffs before we make the cuts, I think I'm going to try and pick one of these guys who has nothing to lose, like William Byron. Particularly now that we're going into a road course, William Byron doesn't give a shit about stage breaks. Like he could pit when he wants to. He doesn't have to, to really keep in mind anything that anyone else is doing to win stages. He could just go for checkered, whereas everybody else needs to like pile in the points. And so the only 2 people who have that luxury right now are Blaney and Byron, and I like Byron better on a road course.
I love the Byron pick.
Like
you like the Byron pick.
Yeah, I like picking Byron every week. Literally the championship. I think he's I've said it every week in the last couple of weeks. He's my championship pick, and I think there's probably wise to sprinkle a little each week between now and then. And I also think the value in Truex 14, and then Briscoe is 40-1. I don't like him to outright to win the race. But I don't see odds top 5 or top 10, but those would probably be lucrative, especially given he's finished I think was it Roval or was it Sonoma? He was in for a win, and then he got pushed. He pushed Kyle Busch. There was drama there. He was running up front at a road course recently, so probably a little bit of value to be had there. I'm not going to add those guys to my card. I'm sticking with just Reddick, but in terms of value, I think those guys are worth a look.
Briscoe's plus 550 for a top 5 too. That's still a nice
I don't
coin.
hate that.
Yeah. All righty, guys. Well, that's it. So you guys can go back and watch Barstool's Most Dangerous Game, even though you know who won, just because it's so goddamn entertaining. I told you that Francis put on this little speech that I thought was great, one of the better speeches. And then you can also see my guy Spider right? Come home
P1
with the
finish.
bag, right? P1 finish, no big deal. Again, bringkaepernickback.com is run by Quiggs, so he's trying to get his boy back into the thing. And I urge anybody who's in and around Charlotte Roval to either throw us recommendations on where we should eat and drink, or look for us at the track, because we'll be eating and drinking, and also at the charity event. That's it for this week. Have a great one, guys. Talk to you next week. Rubbing is racing.